Hello everyone, in this video I drew 20 different poses in 3 different methods. A couple of weeks ago someone asked me about Jack Hamm method of figure drawing, and they asked for more examples for the method, more than I showed in the video. So I thought as long as I'm doing figure drawing sessions every couple of weeks, I may as well add some Jack Hamm examples. So in this video I'm gonna do 5 figure drawing in Loomis method, 5 in Reilly's method, and 10 in Jack Hamm method. So hopefully I will cover all of them in this video. Now you may notice that the mannequin part of the figure drawing isn't as detailed as it is in the figure drawing videos. And that's what happens when you practice this method over and over. You won't have to draw the mannequin in details every time you draw figure drawing. You will just have a simplified mannequin that you come up with the more you use these methods. So I'm not gonna do the 4 steps for Loomis, or I'm not gonna do every single line in the Reilly's mannequin or Jack Hamm. I'm just gonna do it as comfortable as I am with these methods. So if you want to know more about these methods, go back to the videos and see how it's done step by step. But eventually, the more you do it, the faster you're gonna be drawing it. So with that said, let's start with the video. Okay, I'm gonna start with the Loomis method with the first 5 poses. Now I decided when I do these videos, I'm not gonna speed up the whole video in the same pace, because the video is about 8 or 9 hours. I'm gonna make drawing the mannequin part 4 times faster than the original speed, but the drawing details part will be like 15 times faster. So instead of speeding the whole thing 15 times, I'm gonna slow down not slow down, but I'm gonna make the method part a bit slower than the detailing part. This way, if you want to follow the method, you can see what I'm doing with the mannequin. And then the details, they aren't as important as the mannequin part, because when you're gonna do it for your own figure drawing, they're gonna be different details. Hopefully this way will be better in speeding up the video instead of speeding the whole thing. And I'm gonna use the same with every single video from now on. I'm not gonna speed the initial part, the important part, but I'm gonna speed up the detailing part. So this first pose, I'm drawing the Loomis mannequin. The first step of the pose, if you watch the video, you're gonna see that there are 4 steps, building up the mannequin step by step. But in here, I already have all the information I need from the first simplified mannequin. So with drawing the initial mannequin, I just go for it and start building the whole figure afterward. Now you can see that I'm suffering a lot from the chicken strokes or the uncertain stroke while I'm drawing this figure. But I have a bit of a workaround that problem. After I'm done with the initial part, I just make the whole thing about 50% or 40% transparency and just draw the whole thing with more confident line. This way I will have the best of both worlds. I can be fast with the initial drawing, and then I can slow down and draw the whole thing in a much calmer and smoother lines. And when I'm done with the whole body, I just add a line weight to certain part, like intersection between the body parts or what is in front or closer to us or closer to the viewer, which will have a thicker line. So this is the first pose done. Let's go to the next. And the initial mannequin of the Loomis method is knowing where the rib cage is and where the hips cylinders are. And once you do that, you have to capture the movement of the character. The arms and legs are simple lines, but as simple as they are, you can capture the initial movement and action line of the figure. Once you can see the pose action in the simplified mannequin, the detailing part will be a lot easier afterwards. And the second pose is done. Let's do the third one. This one is a bit harder pose because there are a lot of shortening in the right leg. It's much closer to the viewer than the other one, so it looks a bit shorter. But as I mentioned, you have to capture the action in the initial mannequin. After that, the detailing part is much easier. Okay, now the fourth one, another foreshortening in the hips and legs part. The hips are going back into the image while the legs are coming toward us. So you can see the hips is looking very small compared to the legs. But the character is going back from the middle and then coming forward with the arms and legs. And the final pose with the Loomis method, we have a very dynamic pose in this one. So you have to follow the action line from the torso to the hips. And once you got that right, you have to follow the arms and legs and see what direction they are going. After that, you just fill in the details and move on to the next. Okay, and now we are done with the Loomis. Let's start the Frank Reilly's method with the next 5 poses. The good thing about the Frank Reilly's method is the action line. You can see all the dynamic lines going through the body, and they are really easy to follow once you master the method. The lines from the shoulders to the crotch area intersect with the lines from the neck to the hips area, and that intersection is the middle part of the torso, where the rib cage ends and where the hips starts. So you can see that following all these lines give you an exact position for each part. It's the same for the Frank Reilly's method of drawing the head. It gives you a very specific placement for every single part of the head. The same thing is with the body. It's a very accurate method, and the results from using this method for figure drawing is very dynamic, it's very organic. You won't have a stiff looking pose drawing a figure using this method, but it needs a lot of practice. I use this method from time to time, and every time I have to draw it, I have to rewatch my own videos to remember the exact details of this method. But once you do, it's very rewarding. When I'm done with the mannequin, the detailing part is much easier. You are actually following the lines of your own mannequin, simply adding just few details and line weight. And with this done, let's start with the second one. And I'm sure every artist knows this model from DeviantArt. I think the name is Senshi Stock. She has tons and tons of reference photos for you to use. Some are free, some are for a small amount of money, but very essential for poses. You can visit her on DeviantArt. She have really good poses to draw from. So I use the same method, Frank Reilly. And you can have an artistic license with this method. You can follow the lines that you see in front of you. As I said, the more you draw this method, the faster you're gonna get, and the more you will have your own interpretation to the steps to fit your own style. So even if you see any differences here from my figure drawing videos, I'm just using it to fit my own fast-paced style. But if you want to see it in details, again, go back to the Frank Reilly's video and see it for yourself. And that's why it's important to learn more than one method of drawing the figure or the head. The more you're gonna use this method, and I say this a lot in the comments section, when someone asks me what is the favorite or the best figure method for this or that, try them all. Try all the method yourself. One, you're gonna see which one that fit your own style. Your favorite method may be different than mine, and more than that, when you draw all these methods, you're gonna come up with your own eventually. You're gonna like some part in one method and another and from the other method, so you're gonna end up creating your own method that you are comfortable with. So it's essential to use all these methods, even if you don't like them or you don't like one of them. Just try it. See what you like about it. Try 10 poses, 100 poses, and see what works best for you. It's like what I said for visual library. You can't just have one study and think you're gonna have 10 ideas out of it. You have to do 100 study to get one perfect idea. You have to see a lot of ideas to create a perfect design. With that done, let's move to the next. Now in this pose, it's a little bit to the side view, so the abstraction lines get a bit different in the side view for the Frank Reilly's method. So you have to mix and match between the front and the side view of these lines and follow them the way you see it on the reference photo. But again, the lines are really dynamic, that goes all the way from the head to the legs, so you have this motion and fluidity to your figures as you are using this method. I really like using it from time to time, but there are a few other methods that I didn't talk about yet that I actually use in my daily practice, and I'm really looking forward to do the videos on them because they are really interesting. But hopefully we'll get to that as soon as possible. Okay, let's do the fourth one. And I'm actually using dynamic poses for the Frank Reilly's method more than the first 5 because the method fits really well with the dynamic poses more than static ones. With static poses I will use Andrew Loomis more than this method. When you start detailing your figure, it's really good to add the line weight, the final steps of the figure drawing. It really adds character and it focuses your viewer eyes toward what you want them to see and explains more the perspective of your figure drawing. What is moving forward toward the viewer and what is receding back toward the background. And the final pose for this method, this is in 3/4 view. So I'm using a combination of different abstraction lines for this method from the side and the front. And we are done with the Frank Reilly's method. Let's do the final 10 in the Jack Hamm method. Hopefully whoever sent me that message about the figure poses is watching this video, because this is for your request. So the Jack Hamm method is a bit simple. You can do this in 2 different ways. You can have the opposite triangles from the shoulders to the crouch and from the hips to the pit of the neck, or you can do the boxes. You can do the box for the rib cage and a box for the pelvis, and then draw the limbs in basic cylinder and boxes forms. The idea here is to simplify the body parts of the figure in basic forms that makes the detailing part much easier. You don't have to make any guesswork. All the guesswork and the calculations and the measurement should be done in the initial part of the mannequin. After you're done with that, the detailing part should be just following the blueprints of the mannequin. Okay, next we have this pose. This is a really hard pose because the whole figure is going to the side, but her head and arms are going to the front side. So it's a bit of a twist of the body, and the legs are going completely different ways. Very dynamic and very nice pose, and especially the arm is in full foreshortening mode. If you search in Pinterest for dynamic poses, you will have tons of figure poses in dynamic action fight poses. They are really nice to draw, especially because they are almost all in the foreshortening perspective. Next one, we have this pose, and you can see the torso and the hips looking completely like two boxes in this pose, which makes this method perfect for this pose. And that's why, again, you should try to use more than one method, so you can decide which method works with the pose, instead of which method you want to do for every single pose. Okay, now the fourth pose. This is almost the back side of the model, but again, two boxes, connection between them, and simplified shapes for the arms and legs. The fifth pose is a bit tricky with the foreshortening for the legs. You can see the cylinder for the thigh and the knee almost on top of each other. The main issue with the Jack Hamm method is the figure can be a little bit stiff in the final design, but you can completely override that by making the detailing part a bit more smooth, following the reference photo more than the boxy shapes of your mannequin. The mannequin should be there to show you the placement of the figure. It's not like the Frank Reilly's method where you are following the dynamic lines or the abstraction lines when you are detailing. Here you are just following the sense of placement from the mannequin and then just adding the details as you are seeing them in the original photo. But there are a chance of stiffness in your final pose. The next pose is almost side view for this model. So your box is gonna appear from one side. I would say this method from all three is probably the fastest in the first phase, but you're gonna have to do more work in the detailing part. See, this is the rule with the figure drawing methods. The more time you put in the initial stage, the less time you're gonna put in the detailing stage. And the less time you put in the initial stage, the more mistakes you're gonna have and more time you're gonna put in the detailing phase. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next pose, and with this one I use the second method, the second style of the Jack Hamm method, and then using it with the boxes. And this is the double triangles, just to check out the connection between the two boxes. You can do the double triangle from the shoulder to the hips, and you can be more sure where the rib cage box and the hips box meet. You can do this again with every pose you do, but I just wanted to do it here because the pose wasn't I wasn't sure where the connection gonna be due to the clothes on the figure. So instead of guess where it is, just draw the two triangles from the shoulders to the hips, and it will make things a bit more clear to where the connection will be. Okay, now pose number 18 in this video. Again, I'm using the triangles with the boxes because the hands are covering up the connection part. But overall, it's a very fast, straightforward pose. The only tricky thing is the hips is going to the right and the legs are going to the left. So you have this twisting type and the shoulder going up from the right and the hips going down from the right side. You have always the opposite motion from the hips and the shoulders, like I talked about in the Jack Hamm video. When the force of the hips going up, the shoulder on the same side will go down. And when the hips go down from one side, the shoulder will go up. And now pose number 19. The whole session took about 9 to 10 hours to finish, about 20 to 25 minutes each pose. I think I did the whole thing in 2 or 3 days. I was doing a portrait in the same time that I'm gonna post later on. I'm gonna do a portrait in Frank Reilly's method. Hopefully I will post it after this video. And this pose you have twisting parts from the torso to the hips. The hips is rotating to the right and the torso is rotating to the left. So you have this twisting motion between the two. And the final pose in this 20 different poses video. And this is a bit tricky because the torso is coming toward you while the midsection is going back toward the background. And the same with the left leg. So this is an example where I would use the Frank Reilly's method for this pose instead of the Jack Hamm, because it will be more dynamic to follow the lines throughout the whole body instead of using sections for each part. It will just make it look a bit more dynamic and will make the detailing part a bit more easier to do. and it is done. And this is the final sheet for this practice session. It was really enjoyable to do and really fun to brush on these methods using a couple of poses for each one. If you need any more information on how to draw the mannequin for each method in details, please go back and watch the figure drawing series where I talk more in details for each method. So this is it for the 14th practice session video for the figure drawing. I hope you find it enjoyable to watch and hopefully useful for you to follow. And basically I'm doing this video for a couple of reasons. One, practicing and improving my own art, and hopefully answering some of the comments and requests in the comment section. And finally, these are more like fillers between the tutorials part, because I'm already working on the tutorial part, but they are taking much more than 1 week, sometimes 2 to 3 weeks to finish every video. So instead of just leaving the whole channel for a couple of months till I upload, I do these quick studies that hopefully are useful for you to watch or get some ideas from in between the tutorials video. There is another portrait drawing I'm gonna post hopefully after this video, or if I finish the tutorial part in time, I will post that before the portrait. But anyway, this is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.